Hey everyone, George here with The Art of Water. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about a line of products that I think are probably some of the best on the market. Now, I want to make clear before we get into this video that in no way, shape, or form does this company endorse me, or do we have any kind of relationship monetarily that benefits them or benefits me. This is simply my belief in a product that I have used now for well over 2 years, and I have found over and over again that these products absolutely are the best on the market as far as I'm concerned, and that's just my opinion. So if you've been in the aquarium hobby for any length of time, I'm sure that you've ran across one or two of these products over the course of that time, because it's kind of hard not to. But I want to talk about several of their products that I use myself. We're going to talk about them individually and what I believe is probably going to help you to understand when you have a need for something for your tanks that is kind of hard to make a decision on. I'm going to tell you that I really believe that these Seachem products can cover just about any problem or any solution that you may need to keep your tanks healthy and to keep your fish vibrant and to keep things just running really smoothly. We're going to do that, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes, and I hope you'll stay with me. So when we're talking about a line of products that we can rely on to sort of cover all of our needs when it comes to our aquariums, I think it's nice to have a company that you can trust and feel like they carry everything that you need basically to keep your aquariums healthy. So Seachem has been that company for me, and as I said, I want to re-emphasize that I do not get anything from Seachem, nor do I have any kind of endorsement by them. I don't endorse them in a way that is financially beneficial to either one of us. So I'm talking about these products strictly in the context of how I've used them and what I think of them. Now, one of the things that I said a minute ago was reliability is really important to me. Finding a line of products out there that you really feel are going to cover all of your basic needs and do it at a price that's reasonable. There are tremendous amounts of chemicals out there and different gimmicky things that you can use on your aquarium. Some of them are downright cheap and just crappy products. Some of them are cheap and really work really well. Others are extremely expensive and don't work very well, or they're just out of most people's ability to spend that kind of money on their aquariums. So I have found with Seachem, which is a American-based company out of Madison, Georgia. They're local products, but they are, or local company, I should say, in the United States here, but they are sold nationwide as well as worldwide. So you got a company here that is really putting their products out all over the world. Now, there are other companies that do that. I'm not saying that is unique in any way to them, but it is nice that you can basically go anywhere, or you can recommend to friends all over in a very close-knit world that we live in, as far as being able to talk to someone, you know, on your YouTube channel or on your Instagram account or your Facebook page that may be halfway around the world about a problem that you're having and they're having that are similar to each other. Talk about it, and they can run out and get the same product that you have, or a product that they have that works for both of you. And that's why I like Seachem, because they basically, as I said, they're a American company, but they are international in every sense of the word because their products are sold all over the world. Now, when we talk about Seachem products, we can break it down into some different categories here. We can talk about your maintenance products, the things that we're going to use the most, the daily or weekly things that we're going to use. We're going to talk about things that we don't like to talk about because we want to think that our tanks are healthy, but occasionally we do get into a situation where we need medications for our fish, and so that category they have covered very well also. And then we're talking about some of the chemicals that are needed to help grow plants, to help neutralize pH or to regulate pH in some way. There are also products, liquid products that Seachem sells that can enhance your CO2 experience as well. So the first ones I want to talk about are the two right here in the front that are probably going to be the most important to you. I'm going to start out with Prime, because if you're doing weekly water changes, which you should be doing, then Prime is going to be one of those products that you're going to find yourself using the most out of this Seachem line. Now, Prime basically is just a very high-end water conditioner that removes chlorine and chloramides from your water. That's its main purpose, but it does have some added benefits that I think are really important, and I didn't really realize it until I had been using the product for a while, and that is it does detoxify your aquarium when you're doing water changes to remove ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates and balance those out in your tank so that you can get a very quick recovery on your tank if you're having a problem. Sometimes we have to do very large water changes because those problems are so serious that we need to remove a lot of the water. Prime is going to help you with that process by, like I said, neutralizing the ammonia, the nitrites and the nitrates in the water, helping you to bring down that instability in your tank immediately and really help you out in a lot of ways. Now, the second product next to it here is Stability. And what I like about Stability is that if you are setting up a new tank, and I do not recommend using this product in the wrong way. In other words, I don't recommend you using it to add fish immediately or trying to add them quicker to your tank. Now, what I'm trying to say about Stability is this. It does really stop that new tank syndrome that we often see when we're putting a tank together. Now, most of my tanks are seeded from tanks that are already existing and are been cycled for a long time, so I don't have to worry about that. But a lot of times we have a situation where we want to get fish going quicker than that 21 to 30 day cycle that is required for a good, healthy tank. Now, I don't recommend, like I said, doing it that way, but if you're going to do that, Stability is probably going to be your best friend to help you out with that. Now, the reason why I say that is because, like I said, Stability does prevent that new tank syndrome that a lot of us run into because we're a little bit impatient with adding fish to our tanks. We want to get that instant gratification. That's sort of the American way, but I don't recommend doing that. But my use of this product is a little bit different. I think that whenever you're doing a 50% water change or more, that is very important to use Stability alongside of that when you are putting water back into your tank, because basically what it's going to do is it's going to give you the ability to stabilize your tank and prevent spikes in ammonia and nitrites and nitrates, and give it that added little bit of ability to help build that good bacteria that we need to get our tanks going. And stability is really going to help you do that. So like I said, whenever you're doing a water change of 50% or more, I really recommend that you follow the instructions on the back of that bottle and add that to the water that you're replacing into your tank, because it is going to stabilize your system really, really well. Now, if you're going to start your tank in a way that I don't recommend, as I said, because I don't want to endorse that, and I don't want somebody to walk away saying, well, I heard that on your video that, this is going to, save my fish from dying or whatever. I don't recommend starting a tank out by using something. Now, Stability says you use it for 7 days and it really helps you with the process. And I don't believe that it even says on the back of the bottle that you should be using it to start a tank out and adding fish immediately to it, because that's really not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to aid you in getting that good bacteria going in your tank, and maybe shortening that time period that your tank would cycle in. So I don't want that to be misrepresented in any way, shape, or form. Now, moving on to the next group of products, we're going to be talking next about Flourish, Excel, and Neutral Regulator, which I think are really important products for not only maintenance in your aquarium, but also fertilizing and adding to maybe your CO2 system, or correcting some problems in your tank that you may not have any control over because of the type of hardscaping that you've used and whatever. There's a lot of things that come into play here as to why tanks get out of whack, but there are some challenges with that. But like I said, with these products, the three that we're going to be talking about next, I really believe you can cut down on those kinds of problems by using these products on a weekly basis at least, but absolutely following the instructions on the back of the bottle to make sure that you're using them correctly. So getting back to the three products that I talked about that I wanted to mention next, the very first one I want to talk about is a product called Flourish here. Now, what this basically is a very comprehensive supplemental product that is basically a fertilizer. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to replace trace elements and other items that get depleted out of your tank over time. And so what I recommend is, when you are using in a planted aquarium any kind of fertilizer, I really recommend Excel used with this product right here called Excel. And the two of them together really are going to help you to keep your plants in your aquarium in top-notch shape. Now, as I said, Flourish, basically what it does is it acts as a weekly or twice a week, I use it, supplement in your tank to make sure that your plants are getting all the nutrition, the micro elements and micro nutrients that are needed to keep those plants really, really healthy. Now, it's kind of a smelly product. I don't know if you've opened up some of these fertilizers that they have for aquariums, and they just really are very, very strong smelling, in the dead fish sort of category. That has a little bit of that going on here. They all do. But I have found that this one here, if it is used correctly, is not going to create problems such as algae in your tank and that sort of thing. And this one, the Excel, is absolutely going to help you as far as on the carbon side of it here. When you're putting CO2 in your tank, a lot of us start out using CO2 kits, and we find that they're just too hard to maintain and too frustrating for us to deal with. This is a great supplement to a full-blown CO2 tank. You can add Excel to your tank, and basically it's got tons of iron in it and things like that that are going to help your plants really adjust really well and keep, like I said, sort of a liquid carbon or liquid CO2, I should say, in your tank that is going to help your plants just absolutely flourish. Now, flourish, I didn't mean flourish, I meant to say flourish. Now, I use these in conjunction with each other because I have found that when I use the Flourish on a regular basis, if I occasionally use the Excel as well, just read the instructions on the back of them. They're both great products for keeping you going in that department. Now, one other item that we're going to be talking about, and this is probably as important as anything out there, one of the biggest things that we run into is everybody has different kinds of water where they live, or the hardscape that you've put in your tank either hardens your water or softens your water, or it's just a little bit out of whack. And this product here, this neutral regulator, basically is going to keep in check your pH issues. So if you're having issues with pH being either way too low or way too high, this is basically a neutralizer that is going to make your pH run right at about 7.0. Now again, you want to follow the instructions on the back of this that really give you a good guideline as to how to use this product, when to use this product, and why to use this product, which I think is extremely important. Now, they are not trying to sell you something just to sell you something. Basically, they even tell you on the back of here that it may not even be necessary and it may not be the best solution to your problem. But it is a great solution if you've got that slight imbalance in your pH and you want to keep your fish healthy. This is really going to go a long ways towards helping you to achieve that. Now, these three chemicals here are things that I use on a weekly basis whenever I'm doing water changes. And I think above all, if you just forget about all these products at all, water changes are the most, I think, important component to keeping a healthy tank. I try to do at least one water change a week. I used to be extremely just absolutely obsessed with water changes to the point where I was doing 2 or 3 water changes in every tank in my home and gallery, and it got to the point where I felt like I was just doing water changes all the time. Now, if you use these products in the right way, it's going to help you balance that out so you don't have to do that. Big deal is at least doing 1/4 of a water change in every one of your tanks that you have once a week. That is really important. I'm not going to back off that because I just found that the beauty of these tanks isn't me being lucky. The beauty of these tanks is me being disciplined and me understanding that water quality is the most important thing that your fish can live in. It's just like you breathing air. We got really bad air out here because of these fires right now. But if we have good, clean air, we're generally going to be healthier people. So it's like, are you going to go outside and walk into just a horrible situation where you can't breathe and you can do something about it, but you don't? and or adding a HEPA filter or something like that into your home to make sure that the quality of the air in your home is good. Why would you not do the same thing for your fish tanks to make sure the quality of the water is absolutely in top-notch shape? So doing those water changes at least a quarter a week. If you can do a half once a week, all the better. It's not necessary. That gets to be a little OCD-ish, and you don't have to do that. But what I do recommend is at least a quarter water change a week so that you are getting that really bad water out of your tank, and you are keeping your fish in a constant state of quality water where they can thrive. And like I said, adding these products to that is really going to help you establish a very good system in your tank. And like I said, read the instructions on the back of it. Make sure that you're not overdoing it with any of this stuff, because it's one of the areas with Seachem, a lot of their products you can't overdo it as far as like the prime and the stability and stuff like that. If you put a little bit too much in or a little bit less in, it's not going to affect your tank very much. But with these products here, it's just like anything. If you over fertilize and your light conditions are off and your water conditions are poor or whatever, that's just an absolutely friendly environment for algae, and you don't want to get into that. So what I recommend is following the instructions on these items and using them correctly, using them consistently, because if you stop and start and stop and start, your tank is just going to be confused by that, and your water parameters are going to be off, and you're going to see algae showing up in your tank. You're going to see that your plants are not doing well, they're dying or they're melting. There's all kinds of different things. So in conjunction with good light, good quality water, adding these products that I just showed you here to your tank is going to make that so much easier on you. Now we're going to get into a category that we don't like to get into, but it's just unfortunately a category that we have to cover because it just happens to all of us regardless of how careful we are and how hard we try, and that is having to use medications in your water. And what I find to be with Seachem is they have a couple that if you just keep them on hand, you buy them, they're not that expensive, keep them on hand, you always had them, you can save yourself a lot of grief and knock something down really quickly. We're going to be talking about that next. So this next line of products that we're going to be talking about is a category that none of us really want to get into, but it's something that if you're in a situation where you need medications for your fish, Seachem has some of the best products out there to kind of help you in that category. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is external parasites such as ick, velvet, and some of those kinds of things. One of the first things that I try to tell everybody is to prevent these kinds of parasites. The best way to do that is to not allow it to happen in the first place. One of the first things you want to do is when you're looking at your fish in the store is make sure that you are picking out fish that look healthy, don't show any signs of parasites. Buy your fish from a supplier who you know and trust quarantines his fish, medicates his fish to make sure that they don't have any of these issues. But it's not foolproof, and one of the things that you can do to best guard against this is to have a quarantine tank or a hospital tank of some kind set up all the time so that whenever you're bringing new fish home, you are able to isolate those fish from your community tanks, and you are able to monitor them to make sure that they don't have any issues. Now, if they're going to have a problem, you're usually going to see it show up within 72 hours typically, maybe a little longer. I like to quarantine any fish that I bring into my home or bring into my tanks for at least a week, and maybe more sometimes. It just depends on the species and the kinds of problems that are known for that particular fish to have. So if you are doing that and you're following the rules really well and you're quarantining your fish and whatever, and you've done all you can and you still get presented with a problem, these two products right here are going to be your best defense to knock that down really quickly. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is Cupertine, and the reason why we're going to talk about Cupertine is because it is going to cover the most common problems that fish present when you bring them home, and that is ick or velvet. And these two problems really, like I said, are going to show up in about 72 hours of you bringing your fish home in that quarantine tank or in that hospital tank. So if you are going to treat those fish with a product that I think really works well, I recommend that you absolutely make sure that you read the instructions on the back of the bottle, number one, just so that you fully understand what's going to happen to that tank. Now, I don't recommend quarantine tanks are fully planted. I don't recommend that you have cycled them fully or that kind of thing, because basically you're going to be killing off pretty much all your bacteria in there, and you're going to be killing a lot of your plants in there by using this product. You're going to save your fish and you're going to prevent your fish from having a problem, but set up a tank that is generally pretty sterile in design so that you don't have to spend a lot of money, destroying plants and a cycled tank and so forth. So this stuff is really good. It has malachite green in it. This is a very common kind of medication that you're going to find in a lot of these ick products. But this also has a bunch more stuff in here that's covered that a lot of products don't have. And that's why I like this one, because it really is a more broad, let's say broad spectrum medication, because that's really what it is. It is a broad spectrum medication that is going to encompass a lot of different external parasites that generally don't get covered with some of these other ones. Now, there's no guarantee at all that this is going to be something that is going to fix fish. Fish die from diseases because it isn't caught in time and so forth, or they just have really poor immune systems and they can't fight it off. This is going to help them to do that, but like I said, there is no guarantee that this is your salvation, that it's going to be the end all to make those fish survive. So again, read the label really well, make sure you understand directions on here, and make sure again that you do have your fish in a sterile sort of tank where you're not killing a bunch of plants off and stuff like that. That's just going to cost you a ton of money that you don't need to spend on those kinds of things. So really good. Cupertine is really, really good. It's a well-known product. And now, another thing that you want to remember too is your tank can get stained from this stuff. And when it does, it can really create some staining that is not going to look good. So make sure the tank that you're using for quarantining or hospital is something that is not something you're going to end up using at some point as a regular tank in your gallery, because you're not going to get that stain off there. It's a very really intense bluish green stain that is going to end up on that tank, and it's really going to be hard to get rid of it. In fact, you're not going to get rid of it. So anyways, really good product right here, and I would recommend keeping this on hand at all times. Now, the second problems that a lot of tanks get are internal parasites, and this product right here called Paraguard is going to cover most of those, whether it be worms or internal parasites of other kinds that are microbial or whatever. This is going to really help you in that area. Now, what some of the signs are for an internal parasite is a fish that's sunken in, that is very thin, even if they're eating ravishly and they're just going to town on food and they're not gaining any weight. They've got that sunken head in, sunken stomach. Typically that indicates that there is some kind of a problem with an internal parasite. Now, this is going to be really, really good at knocking that down, but the key to that whole thing is catching it early enough to where this fish can survive, because unfortunately with internal parasites in fish, if it gets too far, there really isn't much you can do to bring them back. Once they've quit eating and once they're so emaciated that they just look terrible, it's really not going to be long after that fish will expire, and that's just part of the deal. So if you are looking at your fish again when you're buying them, whether it's from a guy that you trust or somebody that's new or whatever, it can happen to anyone. Look at those fish, look for those signs that there is a problem, and if there is something that doesn't look right, don't buy that fish. Just reject it and just ask for a different fish. If they don't have one, be patient until they get some more in, because sometimes we get impatient and then we get into trouble. And internal parasites can be passed on to other fish in your tank. Now, it's not very common, but it can happen. So we want to make sure that when we're treating these fish, that we're treating them in isolation from other fish that are not showing signs of that. And but anyways, Paraguard is a great product. I really recommend it. And again, I just think that between these two products, most things that you would have a problem with keeping your fish healthy, most of those health issues are going to be cured by these two products right here. So we're going to get into a summation here of all of these products, this whole line of Seachem products that we talked about here, and we're going to do that in just a minute, so hang in there with me and we'll talk about that in just a second here. So in summation here, we've talked pretty much about all the categories of chemicals or medications that Seachem makes, and I talked to you a little bit about what each one of them does, and I think I covered pretty much everything that most hobbyists are going to find interesting or are going to need. I want to tell you again one more time that I do not have a relationship with Seachem that endorses me in any way. I do not endorse them. I am simply talking about these products because of my experience with them. So I want to keep that out there and make you understand that you need to read the bottles. You need to double check me on what I said, because none of this stuff here is 100% maybe conducive to your particular situation. So read the bottles and make sure that when you go out and look for these products that you know what you're getting and what you're using it for, because you can make mistakes on that too. But basically, I gave you a summation of what I think are some of the most general products that Seachem offers that I think that you're going to find useful for you as a hobbyist every day, and I hope that I covered that really well with you. It's a great company, like I said. They're out of Madison, Georgia. They are a U.S. company, and they do sell their products all over the United States and internationally, which is very nice. So anywhere you go, or if you want to recommend something to your friends overseas that are hobbyists, which many of us are a tight-knit community, and we do talk amongst each other about different kinds of products that are out there. So again, Seachem, great products, and I think that if you use them correctly, you're going to find that your hobby experience as being an aquarium keeper is going to be really enhanced by using these products to make sure that you're getting the best experience that you possibly can. Thank you for joining me today. Make sure you hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave those comments down below here. Like I said, before in all of my videos, those comments are extremely important to me because it gives me an opportunity to talk about things with you that you may have questions about. If I left something out in this video that you wanted to talk about, or you think that I said something incorrectly about one of these products, please leave it in the comment section and I will get back to you as soon as I can on that. I really like to have those comments. Also, if you want to know what kind of videos are coming out next or what we have planned next, which we do have a ton of stuff in the pipeline that is going to be out here in the next weeks and months to come, what I recommend is hitting that bell. It's either up here, I think, or over here. It's one or the other, but anyways, hit that bell and you will get notifications all the time whenever we have a new video out. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for, I know this is a little bit longer video than I would have even liked, but I thought it was really important that we talk about some of these things here. These are great chemicals, great company. Go out and get yourself some Seachem products today, and if nothing else, I mean, these two right here I use all the time. So if you're looking for a good water conditioner and a good way of stabilizing your tank as you're cycling it or doing large water changes, Prime and Stability are excellent products for that. Now, one thing I would tell you about this, so that there's no big surprise and I'm going to kind of leave you with a smile on your face, is when you open this up, man, it smells like rotten eggs or sulfur. So don't be surprised by that. I kind of warned you on that just now by kind of letting you know that that is not a pleasant smell, but it's not harmful to your tank in any way, shape, or form. It just happens to be the way it smells. There are some similar products out there to this that have a little hint of that smell in them also. So it's just a common thing. So anyways, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the next one. Until then, we're out.